there are male, female, there's just a lot of confusion around what gender is. So, his agenda is very clear on that, and he's made it very clear. He's also talked about the fact that... He said
it's now the official policy. He said, take it from here, that the official policy in the
absolutely.
US is you're either a man or a woman. End of story.
Or a woman. It's as simple as that. And I think that a lot of African countries will be thrilled and will be very happy with this position, because time has come for us to begin to, deal with these issues, factors, and confusions, relating to gender. And for us, it's a very touchy issue for us as a country, even as a continent, because this is not in our culture. We don't recognize some of this behavior that are infiltrating our system, quote and unquote, and it's looking like it's actually the West and the Europeans that are making us adapt to this system. And then one of the things that is also not written, but it's also very clear, because I followed the inauguration process, you can also see that Trump is the kind of president that will be very strong on bilateral issues. He wants to be able to sit down discussing with countries, because I understand that in this entire program leading to the inauguration, that the European Union were not part of it, and some of the invitations that also went out were restricted for the European Union, clearly signaling that Trump basically have got some aces to grind with the EU.
Indeed.
So he feels that it's better for him to sit down with countries on a bilateral level and have his deal. He's a businessman, clearly. His interest is to protect America. And I believe that this is also not out of place. He basically made it open to say that, listen, the Gulf of America, the Gulf of Mexico is going to be renamed to the Gulf of America. The area, where America ceded to Panama is now being operated. He says the Chinese are now currently occupying the place, and they're going to take it back.
And he's talking about taking it back.
He also renamed the tallest mountain. Yes, he also renamed the tallest mountain, which President Obama changed to Mount Denali to Mount McKinley, the former American president, and all of that. So there were, it seems to me like he has hit the ground running, and the man that clearly understood what the agenda is and what he wants to do, and he has no apologies about it. And that's why I'm talking about the manner in which the speech came, the content of the speech. They were very clear, speaking to the heart of the issues: America first, deportation issues, remain in Mexico policy, emergency on energy, trying to set up a team that can actually go out and ensure that the prices of goods, which is inflation, is coming down in the United States. Yes.
Okay. Of course, all of this begins to suggest that what can Africans expect from another Trump presidency? I don't know. Trump has never been shy to express himself. He actually described us once, unfortunately, in the most pejorative of terms. I don't know if that was accidental. Sometimes these things happen like that. But I'll come to you for that. But before then, we just have this, we have a visual. Of course, it's a global event. We have a visual of it. So let's take this visual report, and then we'll come back and continue our conversation, especially what Africa can look forward to. Perhaps even Nigeria, what they can look forward to from this time Trump coming on as the 47th president of the U.S.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute.
President Trump and his Vice President J.D. Vance took the oath of office at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. due to the freezing temperatures. The first time the ceremony has taken place indoors since the second inauguration of Ronald Reagan in 1985. The event was attended by former President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, former President Bill Clinton and his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and hosts of other public officials. In his inaugural speech, Trump criticized Biden's administration for failure to give attention to America's border, but instead using America's resources to defend foreign nations.
America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom.
President Trump also announced a number of executive orders to be signed, including the national emergency on southern borders.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
On his foreign policy's direction for the next 4 years, President Trump said a golden age begins right now. He announced a flurry of policies, including renaming the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America.
We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
In what may have come as a shock to keen observers in U.S. politics, President Trump said his strongest legacy will be to unite the country. Okay, so most of us have heard it because most Nigerians, not just most Nigerians, most people around the world, you, Ambassador, our guest Ambassador Elijah Nyagwa, has said that the world was watching. Of course, it would be the case. So we've heard it from Trump. And now let's look at what can we reasonably expect, given the person that President Trump is. What can Nigeria, perhaps, but Africa generally, expect from this Trump presidency?
Okay, thank you very much, Uncle Yuri. I think first is that we need to begin to look at how America respects themselves and how they have put America's interests at the front of the banner. This is a big lesson for African leaders. It's important that African leaders begin to put Africa's interests. It's important that Nigerian leaders begin to put our interests at the front burner at every particular point in time. And America has no apologies. President Trump have got no apologies about that. He talked about even going ahead to establish an external revenue service outside America. He wants to be able to tariff products that are coming into the U.S. and ensure that he enriches America from the proceeds that are coming from outside the United States. And this, for me, you can't blame anybody on that, but it's a big lesson. And I think that time has come for us to, as Africans, to begin to look at ourselves and begin to ask ourselves, what do we need to do first to be able to ensure that we get the respect that we deserve. And it's all about our conduct. It's all about how we go about doing our businesses. A situation where, you find a lot of African leaders getting involved in corrupt practices, moving monies abroad. Recently you see a situation where about 55 million develop the continent and develop the country. And, these funds find themselves or find their ways outside the shores of the continent. So I think it's important that we learn the fact that we need to begin to focus on ourselves, because countries will begin to respect you when you also begin to respect yourself. So this is a big issue for me. And I believe that it is not out of place for President Trump to focus on what he wants to do with America. It's about ensuring that America gets the best deal. You also know that he has also pulled out from World Health Organization, issues relating to, if you remember the time of COVID and all of the controversies surrounding COVID. And he's also pulled out from that relationship. And he's basically saying, listen, there are wars we will need to win. There are wars we will need to end. There are wars we don't even have to get into at the first instance. So these are clear measurement yardsticks that he has actually laid out for his administration. And it's important that from Africa's perspective, I expect a lot of shocks to happen in that relations, and I will explain why. The U.S. foreign policy on Africa, that foreign policy instrument is referred to the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. That agreement basically allows a lot of, products to get into the U.S. duty-free, about 1,800 products from some selected African countries. That agreement, I understand, is going to be expiring sometime this year. So I expect that, in trying to renegotiate, Trump will also try and find a way to boss around, the table to be able to say, no, this is going to work for America, this is not going to work for America, and so on. A lot of people have described him or his leadership style as, quote and unquote, being a bully. So I expect a lot of shock. So, from Africa's perspective, I think that we also should begin proactively to think about what we need to do to be able to be sure that whatever we get out of a renegotiated AGOA agreement will be in the interest of Africa as well. So I expect a lot of shock. I expect him to obviously, want to do the things that are of interest to America. And again, I also expect African leaders to also begin to think of the things that we can get out of that agreement that will also be in the interest of Africa as a whole. Because at that level, it's about interest. What is it that you want for your continent or for your country? Everybody wants the best of the deal. So people that are, I'm sure people that are responsible will already begin to look at that to find out, what is it that we can do to ensure that we get the best of the deal. It's not... surprising if shocks comes from any point. I think that anticipation should be there. But we are watching. Incidentally, his inaugural speech didn't delve into detail as to what is in it for Nigeria, for Africa as a whole. But we expect, issues relating to deportation. I expect that maybe some African countries or some African citizens that are in the U.S. will be involved. So we should be expecting backlash from that. Clearly, he's also talked about ending this citizenship by birth from, people that their parents have actually illegally migrated to the United States of America. I'm sure some African citizens will also be in this basket as well. So there will be a lot of, issues that will be at the front burner between now and the next 4 years of the Trump second coming. But we wait and sit down and observe, and then we'll respond accordingly when the need arises. But I think that it will start from us doing what we need to do to ensure that we get respected amongst the Committee of Nations. And once our policies are in that direction, Trump is a businessman. He's looking for deals. He's looking for people he's going to enter into deals that will favor America. So that is not out of place. Also of note is, there was this policy that, electric vehicles are now going to be the ones that are going to be manufactured and used in the United States. And he also reversed that because in as much as EVs are also very important, America is big in the manufacturing of vehicles. They do a lot in Chevrolet, they do a lot in General Motors and all of that. So he's saying, no, once you're doing this, this policy is going to negatively affect the economy of the United States. People are working in those auto industries and so on and so forth. So you can't just, have a policy that ensures that, makes that transition very difficult, and all of it. So a lot has happened in the course of his presentation. For Africa, I think that we need to wait for our own shocks. We need to brace ourselves for several changes that are likely to happen in the next 4 years. We will not go toe-to-toe fighting on issues, but we will sit down and watch what happens. There are quite a lot of foreign policy instruments that the U.S. uses for the U.S.-African relations. So we'll wait and see, adjust where necessary, but I think that times are for the better for America and also for the world, because we agree with Trump on several issues. Take, for example, the issue of this issue of gender. A lot of African countries stands with him, clearly. Whatever influence we're having from Europe and all of that, clearly it's everybody was clapping for him yesterday when he made that pronunciation. So I believe and I hope that as we delve into other issues, immigration issues, issues relating to deportation of people, issues relating to ensuring that he gets the best deal as far as trade policies are concerned, and other foreign policy instruments, we will wait and see. But I'm quite certain that we will also try to get our own best deal while relating with the United States.
Indeed, we will have to wait and see. But as you know, Trump has framed himself as a victim of government weaponization. He's been, and in fact, he was quite aggressive, relatively speaking, at this particular inaugural speech. Even as the person he's taking over from, even as they were there, sitting right there in the same venue, he didn't pull his shots. He he spoke his mind. But this whole matter about being a victim and taking a jab at what he called radical and corrupt establishment. He was describing the American government, not a third world government, as you might think without context. He was actually calling America, a radical and corrupt establishment. And he was saying that, well, his election, what it has done is to come and reverse those bad times, a horrible betrayal. And from this moment, using his words exactly, from this moment, the moment of his inauguration, America's decline is over. There's something of a showman in the president himself. So he does use this for his MAGA concept, make America great again.
Well, you see, Uncle Yori, President Trump is not, what he said yesterday was really expected. I'm quite very confident that even Trump, himself, even President Biden and Kamala Harris were also expecting that. He is not the man that is shy from making difficult statements or making controversial statements. His records are there for everybody to see. So I was also expecting those kind of jabs to come from him. In fact, if you listen to the second speech he made to Trump supporters, where the governor of Texas was present and quite a lot of congressmen and women that are strong Trump supporters, the second speech he made, which was in fact longer than the first speech he gave, he basically was talking about the fact that he was asked to ensure that he makes a unifying speech. And that second speech actually had some of the issues he wanted to talk about, during his inaugural speech. He's not a man that is shy from making those kind of comments, but he's also gotten himself into trouble with speech making over the years, even in his first term of administration. But you see, I am not very surprised at what happened. He was always talking about how to drain the swamp in Washington. He's always talking about, speaking against the establishment and the corruption and that is going on in Washington and so on and so forth. But I'm also very reserved to say that, well, the tough is yours now. Implement, because it's talk is, to talk or to criticize anything is the easiest part. It's time to begin to do. He has also started doing. So we wish him all the best, but there's no surprises with respect to some of the things he said. I mean, Trump would tell you his issue with you, and he would tell it to your face. So he wasn't shy of, reversing any of the policies, and of course, very critical of some of the actions that were taken by the Biden administration, particularly the one that has to do with the preemptive pardon that Trump gave in the morning of the inauguration. He was actually very critical of that, but hey, it is still within his powers to do at the time.
In fact, both of them.
Now is his time. Whatever he wants, he can do that as a president.
Exactly, but both of them have been into this kind of, on the one hand, there's the preemptive, what is the word now? Immunity from prosecution. Pardon. That's it. Thank you.
Yes.
There's a preemptive pardon. I just don't know how that one is going to work. But this is America. I'll tell you what, Ambassador. We'll take a break. Okay, I hear that Mr. George has been waiting for a while, so we'll take Mr. George's call, and then after that we'll go on a break and we'll come back, react to it, and take other calls as well. Good morning, Mr. George.
Thank you.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and greetings to the ambassador. Uncle Yori, it's ironic to see Nigerians, including those who are resisting taxation at home, supporting Donald Trump, who is even imposing taxation outside his country for anything that concerns America. I don't know what they are celebrating here. When you talk of human values, this man doesn't have any. If you are in a country that is not prepared to accommodate any neighbor or any other country, is that something credible to applaud? I don't know if Nigerians have heard that this man says he is going to deport people that were born in America. It's a law in that country that if you are born there, you are automatically a citizen of that country. He is saying whether you were born there or not, he's going to deport you. They should ask him.
But as you know, he has already been challenged on that, Mr. George, because it's a law. It's constitutional.
Yes, but is he going to single-handedly change the constitution?
This is the point.
If that is the case, let him deport his wife first. His wife is an immigrant, and the wife came there about 22 years ago. So he should first of all deport his wife before deporting other Americans that have American passports.
Indeed.
That is what they should tell him. And he is not the one that should even be talking about moral values, judging from the cases upon which he was convicted in his own country.
He remains the only American president to have been convicted of a criminal offense.
That's what makes me proud of my country. As poor as he regards us to be, our values forbid a convicted person to be our president. And we are very proud of that. So,
all right then.
So
indeed, Mr. George.
With all these policies, as I told you before, Uncle Yori, for the period this conflict will be in power, I will not go to America. Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in. Okay, I'll tell you what, we'll take that quick break. We'll be right back. And as I said, we'll include your calls as well. Stay with us. Ambassador Elijah Onyagba, former Nigerian ambassador to Burundi, is still our guest.
Meet Benga Oreshegun, a fearless voice and an advocate for the truth. He's bringing fresh energy and bold insights to journalists' Hangout.
Get ready for deeper analysis and dynamic perspectives. Join me and Babajide Kolade Otitoju with other veteran journalists on Journalists Hangout. Weekdays from 5 p.m. and on Sundays 1:30 p.m.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
So I need students, but I need teacher.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything. If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet, sour taste for all their demands. A familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there to x-ray all sides, from the east to the west, north and south. Community Forum will examine the oddities and challenges to economic development, as well as issues yearning for government intervention. Watch fresh episodes of Community Forum on Sundays by 9:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Hello, TVC Communications. How can I help?
What makes TVC the right choice for my business?
Excellent question, sir. Let me share some exciting facts with you.
Start your day on TVC Entertainment with Wake Up Nigeria, a family and lifestyle show. Your view empowers women globally.
It's your view, let it count.
Entertainment Splash delivers the hottest celebrity trends. On TVC News, we keep you informed with breaking news and in-depth analysis of events shaping the world.
I will continue to speak the truth.
TVC News at 7 and TVC News at 10 p.m. delivers the most important stories of the day. Max FM, your hit music radio station, captivates listeners daily across Lagos and Abuja, making every commute more enjoyable. Adaba 88.9 FM is not left out, as it is the voice of Southwest. And on TVC Digital, we reach to million viewers daily. All together, pulls in over 17 million viewers daily. Contact us on 0707 272 8338 or marketing at tvccommunications.tv. Partner with TVC Communications today. Let's grow together.
Okay, so thank you for staying with us. If indeed that is the case, we've been together from the beginning of the program, or for joining us if you've just arrived. There's still some meat on the bone, and President Trump is back in town, so to speak. He's back in the White House as the 47th president. He was the 45th, as you know, Biden the 46th, and President Trump is back as the 47th president. But Ambassador Elijah Onyagba, thank you very much, as I said, for staying with us. Trump has returned to the presidency, and it is thought that he has come back much more confident, observers say, than in his first term. I don't know, first of all, if you agree. It's early days yet, but we did have all of his first presidency to look at. And then in just a day or so, people are saying that, for instance, there's a whole stream of executive actions that are being promised, much more, shall we say, aggressive.
Yes, he is. Trump has always been known for, the bullish nature with which he goes about his business. So that is not surprising at all. But let me, first of all, Uncle Yuri, address the issue that was raised by the person that called.
Okay, yeah, George, who called in.
Talked about the fact that he was surprised as to how a lot of Africans and a lot of, people living in America should be supporting a man like President Trump. But clearly, he needs to understand that this is politics. And in politics, when you marshal out your policies, the electorates are always there listening. So long as you're speaking to the heart of the issues, what they feel is their problem at that particular point in time, you can easily get the votes. I mean, there's no doubt as to whether President Trump won these elections. For that of November 6th, the previous one that he lost the elections. He goes about to say that it was stolen, but clearly he lost that elections.
Yes.
But this time around, he actually won the elections because he won not just by electoral college, he also won by popular votes as well, to the tune of about 9 to 12 million or thereabouts. So clearly, there's no gainsaying the fact that he won this election. He obviously spoke to the heart of the issues that resonated with the American people. And for us here, it's not the fact that we have accepted 100% what Trump is doing. He hasn't really come out to say that this is how he intends to engage Africa. Remember, the challenge here over the years has always been, how does the U.S. want to engage with Africa? Don't forget that the issue is always China's presence. The U.S. investment in Africa is nowhere near what China has done for the continent, for example. China is huge in terms of investment in infrastructure within the continent. They are huge in terms of investment in sectors like mining, etc. China is big in mining in Zambia, big in mining in DRC, and so on and so forth. America has got all kinds of foreign policy instruments. Today is Power Africa. Tomorrow is African Opportunity and Growth Act. There are all kinds of engagement. But again, it's left to be seen, like I said, will Trump punish Africa for having business relations with China? We are waiting to see what's going to happen. And for that or will he try to do more in terms of investment in Africa to actually begin to meet up or make an attempt to surpass what China is doing in Africa? We are left to be seen. Again, we're also watching to know whether his America First policy is likely to also become a problem with respect to the donor funds that usually come into Africa, which if you even sit down and analyze them, whether they are coming from USAID or they are coming from UN and all of those kind of funding, if you do proper analysis, you'll find out that between 50 to 70% of those funds in question never even get to the people that is supposed to get to here in the continent. But those monies actually remain in Washington or find their way back to Washington one way or the other. But again, he can come and say, okay, let's cut down on AIDS because it must be America first and all of that and all of that. So we are, as Africans, we have to sit down and watch. My village people says that when there is a question, you will also find an answer to that. So when the question is when he poses the question, clearly we will also find a way to also get the answers out there. So Trump is not, it's not like Africans are supporting Trump. Of course, there are some of his policies that we support, issues relating to gender. The entire African nation, Nigerian as a state, Christians all over the world, clearly don't want confusion around gender and all of that, issues relating to abortion and some of these federal funding that America has provided to support abortion process. This is always a problem and issue that comes up for conversation in every America's election. While the Democrats have their understanding of it, The Republicans also have the understanding of it. The Christians, the evangelicals, and all of these, several sects always have the ways and means of dealing with these issues. And even coming to deportation, he won't just start, to say, okay, I'm deporting, I'm doing this. There will be processes to that. The laws will be passed. Quite a lot of conversation will go back and forth. And then you know whether you are starting from when the law is started, or are you going back to start implementing what has happened even before you become president. So some of these issues we will see how
they play out.
To implement them. But as far as we are concerned, Africa needs to look inwards. Africa needs to find a better negotiation for itself. Africa needs to respect itself with respect to relations with other parts of the world. And that is not so difficult to ask for. So we are looking and we are watching. We've seen what China is doing. We've seen what, the kind of deals our president has gone out to get, from Brazil, from France, for example, from or UAE and so on and so forth. We will see from China. Let's see the impact this is going to have. And as we also engage America, at a bilateral level, we'll also see. We also, Nigeria just recently also joined the BRICS. So we'll also see whether America is going to be hostile to it or otherwise.
Indeed. That's an interesting one. Indeed. We have to wait for that. But, Ambassador, let me bring in Celestine.
Like Brazil.
Celestine has called in from Warri. I beg your pardon. Celestine in Warri, good morning.
Yes.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with your program this morning.
Oh, thank you. Very kind.
And I want to comment on the issue of the U.S. presidential election that has ushered in President Trump. I have of a lot of comments have been made and people criticizing Trump for his decisions. But to me, we should pay much attention to what is happening to us here in Nigeria and leave a president for his own country to take a decision of what will happen in his own country. I believe it's irrelevant to me for people to be criticizing the policies he's taking and the ones he's not taking. We should concentrate on our own issue here in Nigeria.
Well, okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Celestine. Well, we're not criticizing really, but it is a news event, and so we're bringing up some of those points that have become conversations. As you said, Trump concerns himself with America. Our president will concern himself with Nigeria, but there are these relations that transcend our borders. But I take what you said, and I think the import of what you said is that you don't seem to have any problem with President Trump because he's really sailing forth on things American, and you don't see anything wrong with that. Even our guest, Ambassador Onyeagba, has said as much, that it's to be expected that an American is going to be in favor of America. Ambassador Onyeagba.
Yes. No,
yes.
Without a doubt, like I keep saying, it is left for us to figure out what we need to do to build our own nation. People cannot be upset that the president of America is saying that he doesn't want illegal immigrants. Why do you have to go to America? A lot of people, it took blood of people, individuals. It took ages. This is over close to 250 years of democracy of America. A lot of work has happened over there. He's the 47th president, so even if they are in power for 4 years, you can obviously, see, how long it has taken them to be able to get to where they are today. Indeed. In terms of their democratic practice and, of course, whatever they are doing to build their country. So the responsibility is on us. It's on our leaders. It's on us that are electorate that also choose leaders to do the things that are right for the development of the country. We can come to a point whereby we can also sit down and say that we don't want people infiltrating into our country. We don't want our borders to be porous, that people are entering Nigeria that we do not, understand. We can get to that point, but a lot of work has to be done. We can't just have America as where we want to jump to, where everybody wants to just run to because we feel that their, the infrastructure is there, their policies are, are very good. We also, the responsibility, this is the lesson that we must drive home, must be for everybody to understand that the task of nation building is not just that of leadership. It's not just that of the president. It's the responsibility of the citizens. Because indeed, it's also the citizens that elect the leaders as well. So it's a lot of lessons for me. And I say that You won't blame American president for deciding what they need to decide. He wants to work in the best interest of America. Nigerian leaders must also work, and African leaders must also work for what is in the interest of African leaders. It seems to me like China.
I beg your pardon, Ambassador. I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Ambassador.
Yes.
I really am sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to bring on Habila, who has called in from Kaduna. Good morning, Habila. Oh, well, we actually went and lost that call. So indeed, thank you very much, Ambassador, because what you're saying in there is that, yep, Trump has a right to be pro-American, but then every African country also needs to re-examine itself and be pro-itself, whether from Kenya to Uganda to Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire, anywhere, be pro that. And in fact, it would appear that sometimes there are instances where people are not sure that Africans are being, dare I use the word, aggressive enough in the presentation of their case, perhaps for fear of giving offense, in that kind of a situation. But here we are now. Now, going back to that point about President Trump making some really far-reaching statements, for instance, trying to, I don't want to say toy with, but trying to go back to this whole matter about citizenship by birth. Well, as you know, immediately there have been opposition politicians that have immediately answered President Trump and saying that he can't do that. He cannot do it because it's in the law. But the president has said it. He has been responded to. We now see how it's going to go because it's already the law. Too many, well, maybe I shouldn't say too many, but a lot of people take a plane off to America or the UK, for instance, it's a Nigerian thing, wherever, simply to give birth there and therefore pick up a passport for your, for your darling one. And I think the idea is that the person is set for life if he now has the passport of a Western country, whichever one that happens to be the choice of his parents. So we'll wait to see how that will go, but it is the law. It's as if a president here should say that if you're born in Nigeria, there's something that can be done where you might be denied your Nigerian citizenship. I personally, just looking at the books, just looking at the law, I don't think he can do that. But again, with Trump, you never know. You have to wait and see. But it is a very, very big one. If the fact that you were born, there, somebody can affect that and say, it doesn't mean you're a citizen.
Well, this is a very controversial issue.
Oh, one moment, sir. Sorry, Ambassador. Let me bring, yes. I think Feromi is on the line. Let me add his own contribution, and then you sort of take,
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Feromi. Feromi, good morning.
Good morning. What I want people to understand is the fact that Nigeria is a country on its own. That's a sovereign country on its own. America is a country on its own. If Nigeria was that good, other people would come to Nigeria and they will be the ones saying we want them to leave. But because we know how our country is, we want to run out to other people's country. So whatever is happening in their country should be their own business. And whatever is happening in Nigeria should be Nigerians' business. It is true that there's a way other countries affect our own personal relationship with other countries. But the thing is that the relationship we have with other countries, how well have we been able to build it? If we can build a good relationship with other countries, even if we don't support some people, they feel, okay, these people are good people, they should remain in our country. And that's also another problem I want to talk about, is the fact that most Nigerians want to leave Nigeria because it's not a good place for us. We're not enjoying the country as we should. But I believe with the help of what the president is saying, the question is, we've been shouting it to get better for years. And then we pray and it becomes great, just as America is. But for me, I think Donald Trump is doing what is best for the Americans.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Feromi, for calling in. Ambassador, did you have any comments?
Yeah. No, I heard him very friendly, though, but I think he's also talking about the fact that we must focus on ourselves and not be so much concerned as to what is happening in America, what is going on with other countries.
That's about the size of it, yes.
It's not out of place for the president to want to, reduce the number of people that are, coming into the country, taking advantage of
irregularly
immigration loopholes, etc. It's not out of place to have that conversation. However, we actually disconnected from this point that I said that whatever he wants to do will always be supported by the law, and then of course, don't forget that America is not a place where you just go ahead and do what you want to do just because you're a president. They've got a system of checks and balances, with the Congress and the Senate that will always have to review issues on the Capitol and then pass them appropriately before that happens. So we will wait and see, because whatever he wants to do with respect to the issues relating to citizenship will be clearer somewhere down the line. As it is now, he said it, he signed it, but we'll wait to see on how he goes about implementing it. By and large, I think that the responsibility for us is not, to just sit down and desire to go and have children, in America, just because we think that once
that's setting you up.
You're born as an American, that settles it. So if you've traveled to the United States, there are quite a lot of destitutes. There are people that actually, sleep on the streets, even though it's winter in America.
Indeed.
There are people that are homeless, a lot of homeless people in America. As a matter of fact, it's even arguable that there are more crime that happens every day in New York than what happens in Nigeria as a whole. You can, these things don't come out, to the mainstream media for, for conversation,
You're right.
But once it happens in one place in Africa, we try to find a way to elevate it and, make it look like, the world has come to an end. But clearly, a lot of work. Trump's protectionist policy for the U.S. is expected.
Okay. Sorry, Ambassador. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry for jumping in, but Abdul Rahim, if I got that right, he's calling out of Kaduna. Good morning. Abdul Rahman.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Hello, Abdul Rahman. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Abdul Rahman calling from Kaduna.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. So my take on the Trump President Trump inaugural speech. Okay, sir. My take on the President Trump as a U.S. president is a wake-up call for African leaders that we should learn how to be of ourselves, and we should learn how to make sure that we get our home right.
Indeed. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Abdul Rahman, for keeping it short and sharp. And it really summarizes what our guest, Ambassador Elijah Anyagba, has been speaking about. He's the former Nigerian ambassador to Burundi. And actually around here, we've run out of time. But I did want to thank you very much, Ambassador Elijah Anyagba, for coming on the program and giving us the benefit of your experience and insights into these matters and how they will work. As you said, we're going to have to be patient and see how a lot of these things work out. And of course, this can't be the last conversation on the U.S. and its relations with the world. Thank you very much, Ambassador Onyagba.
Thank you so very much, and God bless Nigeria.
Indeed. I'll say amen to that. Okay, so that's our program. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am